ChatGPT said every great journey begins not with a giant leap, but with one small, decisive step. Life often disguises opportunities in the form of challenges, setbacks, or uncertainty, and in those moments it can feel easier to stand still rather than move forward. But the truth is the power to transform your future lies in the very next step you take. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be impressive, and it doesn't have to make sense to everyone else. It just has to be yours. That next step is the bridge between where you are and where you've always dreamed of being. Too often we wait for the right moment. We convince ourselves that when we're more prepared, when conditions are ideal, or when fear fades, then we'll finally act. But waiting for the perfect moment is like waiting for the ocean to stop moving before you set sail. It will never come. Life rewards movement, progress, and action, not hesitation. Every breakthrough you've admired in history, every success story that inspired you, came from someone who dared to take their next step even when they didn't know how it would turn out. That single choice to act is what separates those who only dream from those who achieve. Think about the times you've already surprised yourself. Remember moments when you were scared, uncertain, or unready, yet you moved forward anyway. And what came after was growth. Your next step has the power to be just like that, the moment everything begins to change. It doesn't matter how slow you move. What matters is that you move. The smallest action can trigger a chain reaction that reshapes your life. A conversation can open doors you never knew existed. A single decision can unlock courage you never thought you had. One step can shift the course of your entire journey. Fear will whisper that you might fail. Doubt will convince you that you're not enough. But here's the truth. You don't need the whole path figured out. You don't need to see 10 miles ahead. All you need is the courage to take the step in front of you. With each step, the path reveals itself. With each action, you gain clarity, strength, and confidence. Breakthroughs are not giant miracles that appear out of nowhere. They are built step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. So today, don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until the stars align. The step you've been afraid to take, the dream you've been postponing, the action you've been overthinking, take it now. Your next step may feel small, but it carries the weight of transformation. It carries the possibility of freedom, growth, success, and fulfillment. Your next step is not just movement. It is your breakthrough. Every great change begins with a small step forward. Action matters more than perfection. This truth is timeless, yet so often overlooked. Many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect conditions, believing they must have everything figured out before they can begin. They convince themselves that they need more resources, more knowledge, or more confidence before they take that first step. But what they fail to realize is that perfection is an illusion. If you keep waiting for it, you will stay stuck exactly where you are. Progress is born not from flawless execution, but from the courage to start, even when you feel unready, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. Think about any significant achievement in history or in your own life. It rarely began with a grand, flawless plan. It began with one small action. Someone daring to move forward despite fear, despite doubt, despite imperfection. A student doesn't graduate because they knew everything on the first day of school. They graduate because they kept showing up, one class at a time, one lesson at a time. An entrepreneur doesn't succeed because their first idea was perfect. They succeed because they acted, they experimented, and they learned along the way. The world doesn't reward those who only dream, it rewards those who act. Perfection, on the other hand, is a silent thief. It disguises itself as ambition, making you feel like you're being wise by holding back until everything is just right. But really, it's a trap that steals time and opportunity. If you're waiting until you have no fear, you'll wait forever. If you're waiting until you have no doubt, you'll never begin. If you're waiting until every detail is flawless, you'll find that life passes you by. The most successful people are not those who avoided mistakes. They are those who acted, stumbled, learned, and grew stronger with every misstep. The beauty of taking a small step is that it lowers the barrier of entry. You don't have to climb the entire mountain in one day. You just need to take the first step on the trail. That step creates momentum, and momentum creates belief. Suddenly, what seemed impossible begins to feel within reach. A writer doesn't create a book by waiting for the perfect inspiration. They do it by writing one page, then another, then another. A runner doesn't complete a marathon by sprinting from the start. They do it step by step, mile by mile. Progress, no matter how small, builds into something powerful when you stay consistent. Action is what teaches you. You cannot learn everything by planning or thinking alone. Real growth comes from movement, from doing, from failing and adjusting. When you take action, you gain experience. When you gain experience, you gain wisdom. And when you gain wisdom, you grow closer to your vision. Think of a child learning to walk. They don't wait until they've perfected balance before trying. They wobble, they stumble, they fall. But they get back up, and each attempt brings them closer to mastering the skill. Adults often forget this simple truth. We learn best through action, not through perfection. Fear will always be there when you're about to step into something new. That doesn't mean you're not ready. It means you're human. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward anyway. Action is the antidote to fear, because once you begin, fear loses its grip. You stop being paralyzed by what might go wrong and start focusing on what you can do right now. Even imperfect action gives you something to build upon, while inaction leaves you with nothing but regret. Another important truth is that small actions compound over time. One small step might not feel like much in the moment, but when repeated, it transforms into monumental change. Reading a few pages a day doesn't seem significant, yet it can turn into dozens of books over a year. Saving a small amount regularly might not feel powerful at first, but over time it builds wealth. Practicing a skill for just a few minutes each day may seem minor, yet years later, it makes you an expert. The breakthrough you're waiting for is hidden inside these consistent small steps, not in waiting for the perfect moment to take a giant leap. Action also sparks clarity. People often say, "I don't know what to do." But the truth is, clarity comes from doing, not from waiting. When you take a step, you begin to see more of the path ahead. Imagine standing in the dark with a flashlight. You can only see a few feet in front of you. But as you move forward, more of the path becomes visible. Life works the same way. You don't need to know the entire journey. You just need to trust the process of taking one step at a time. So if you find yourself stuck, doubting, or overthinking, remind yourself that you don't need perfection to begin. You don't need to know every answer or have every detail figured out. You simply need the courage to take the step in front of you. The act of moving forward is more valuable than standing still in pursuit of flawless conditions. One small action is infinitely more powerful than endless planning. Your next chapter, your breakthrough, your transformation, they don't demand perfection. They demand motion. Every great change begins with a small step forward. That step might feel ordinary, but it carries extraordinary potential. It is the seed of greatness, the spark of momentum, the foundation of everything you've been dreaming of. Stop waiting for perfection. Stop waiting for the right time. The right time is now. The step you take today, no matter how small, is the one that leads to the life you've always imagined. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. Progress comes from moving despite uncertainty. This is one of the most powerful truths about growth and achievement, yet so many people get caught in the web of hesitation. They wait for the stars to align, for fear to disappear, for clarity to come, for circumstances to be more favorable. They convince themselves that when everything is just right, then they will take the leap, start the project, chase the dream, or make the change. But the truth is, there will never be a flawless moment. Life doesn't hand out perfection. It offers opportunities disguised in the unknown. And if you wait for the ideal conditions, you will remain stuck while time quietly slips away. The perfect moment is an illusion created by the mind to protect you from risk. It makes you feel like you're being smart or strategic by holding back, when in reality you're allowing fear to dictate your decisions. Think about it. Has there ever been a time when everything was completely lined up, when there were no obstacles, no uncertainties, no fears? Even when you've prepared thoroughly, there will always be doubts, always be challenges, always be unexpected twists. If you make progress conditional on perfection, you'll never move forward. Progress is not about eliminating uncertainty. It's about acting in spite of it. Every leader, every innovator, every person who made a lasting impact didn't wait until they had every answer. They stepped forward even though the path was unclear. The Wright brothers didn't know exactly how to make flight work when they first attempted it. They just had the courage to try, fail, adjust, and try again. Entrepreneurs who built empires didn't wait for a risk-free moment. They acted while uncertainty loomed over them. Artists, athletes, inventors, leaders, all of them embraced the unknown because they understood that waiting would only rob them of time and momentum. There is power in movement. Action creates energy, and energy creates results. When you move forward, you begin to discover solutions you couldn't have imagined while standing still. Waiting for certainty is like sitting at the edge of a swimming pool, analyzing every ripple of water, hoping for the right time to dive in. The water will always be cold at first. The ripples will always move, and you'll never know exactly how it will feel until you take the plunge. But once you dive in, your body adjusts, and you learn that the water wasn't as intimidating as it seemed from the edge. The same is true in life. You cannot learn, adapt, or succeed until you step into action. Uncertainty is not your enemy, it is your greatest teacher. When you step into the unknown, you grow. You discover strengths you didn't know you had, and you build resilience by facing challenges. If you always waited until you were fully ready, you would miss out on the chance to stretch yourself. Readiness is not something you find before you beginning. It is something you create by beginning. Just like a muscle grows only through use, confidence grows only through action. Every step forward equips you with new tools, new wisdom, and new courage. Another trap of waiting for the perfect moment is regret. How many dreams are buried not because they were impossible, but because they were postponed for later? People wait until the children are older, until they have more money, until they feel braver, until life slows down. But the truth is, there will always be something. If you let excuses dictate your timeline, you will wake up one day realizing the perfect time never came. Regret weighs heavier than failure ever will. Failure at least teaches you something. Regret leaves you wondering what could have been. Progress, even when uncertain, carries momentum that creates breakthroughs. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first it's small and seems insignificant, but as it rolls, it gathers more snow, gaining weight and speed. That's what happens when you move forward without waiting for perfect conditions. The first steps might feel small, shaky, or imperfect, but as you keep going, the momentum builds. Opportunities open, confidence grows. What once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. And all of this happens because you chose to move despite uncertainty, instead of letting uncertainty freeze you in place. Consider also how uncertainty brings opportunity. If everything were predictable, if every step of your journey was guaranteed, there would be no adventure, no discovery, no growth. The uncertainty you fear is the very space where possibility lies. It is the place where innovation happens, where new ideas emerge, where transformation becomes real. The discomfort of not knowing forces you to think creatively, to adapt, and to build resilience. In this way, uncertainty isn't just something to tolerate. It's something to embrace because it means you're on the edge of growth. The truth is, you don't need the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need to see the end of the road to begin the journey. All you need is to move forward with what you have, where you are. Life will meet you halfway when you show commitment through action. The doors you're waiting to open often only unlock after you begin moving toward them. Opportunities don't reveal themselves in stillness. They reveal themselves in motion. So let go of the illusion that you must wait for perfection. Stop telling yourself that someday will be better than today. Someday is not a day on the calendar. It's an excuse. The time you have is now, the opportunity you need is now, and the courage you're searching for will appear when you act. Waiting won't create certainty, action will. Waiting won't remove fear, action will. Waiting won't deliver progress, only movement will. The next step you take, no matter how small, is infinitely more powerful than standing still in the pursuit of perfect timing. It doesn't matter if you stumble, if you make mistakes, or if you feel uncertain. What matters is that you're moving. Because progress is born in action, not in hesitation. The breakthrough you've been hoping for won't arrive because the moment suddenly becomes perfect. It will arrive because you chose to move forward, despite imperfection, despite fear, despite doubt. That's where real transformation begins. Breakthroughs are built step by step, not through giant leaps or sudden miracles. Too often, we look at the success of others and imagine they achieved it overnight, as if one big decision or one lucky moment suddenly transformed their entire lives. But what we don't see are the countless small actions, the steady persistence, the quiet discipline, and the daily choices that built the foundation for that breakthrough. Success is rarely about dramatic leaps. It is about consistent steps that compound over time. Every great achievement is the result of ordinary actions, repeated with extraordinary commitment. We live in a world that glorifies instant results. We see headlines about overnight successes, viral sensations, or sudden breakthroughs, and it creates the illusion that greatness comes from a single moment of magic. But that illusion is dangerous because it blinds us to the truth. Every so-called overnight success has a backstory of years filled with effort, struggle, and small victories. The singer who suddenly tops the charts spent years practicing in obscurity. The entrepreneur who builds $1 billion. Dollar company spent nights solving problems no one else noticed. The athlete who breaks records endured countless hours of practice when no one was watching. Their giant leap was only possible because of the steps they took long before. Each step matters, even when it feels insignificant. Think of a stonecutter striking a rock. The rock may not split after the first blow or the 100th, but at some point, after relentless strikes, the rock cracks open. It was not the final strike alone that caused the breakthrough, but every strike before it. Progress works the same way. Breakthroughs are not isolated events. They are the visible result of invisible persistence. Every step you take, every effort you put in, every small choice to keep going when it would be easier to quit, is shaping the moment when your breakthrough will finally appear. The challenge is that small steps often feel too ordinary to matter. People underestimate the power of daily consistency because they want fast results. They want transformation in weeks, not years. But real breakthroughs take time. Just as a tree doesn't grow overnight, your dreams don't manifest instantly. Roots must take hold before branches can reach for the sky. The small, unseen work you do today is creating the strength you'll need tomorrow. Patience, persistence, and faith in the process are what turn tiny steps into monumental outcomes. It's also important to remember that big leaps are often unsustainable. Someone who tries to skip the process, who seeks shortcuts instead of building step by step, may achieve a moment of success, but won't have the foundation to sustain it. Imagine building a house. If you rush and try to construct the roof before laying the foundation, the house will collapse. In life, the foundation is built through small, steady actions. The knowledge, skills, resilience, and wisdom you gain through consistency prepare you to handle the breakthrough when it finally arrives. Without that foundation, the breakthrough will crumble as quickly as it came. There is power in incremental progress. Think of how compound interest works. Saving a small amount regularly may seem insignificant at first, but over time, it grows into something substantial. Similarly, every step you take compounds into momentum. Reading a few pages a day doesn't seem like much, but over a year, it turns into dozens of books. Exercising for a short time each day may feel small, but over months, it builds strength and health. Writing a few lines daily eventually becomes a finished book. These small steps may not look impressive on their own, but together they create transformation. Breakthroughs also come from persistence in the face of setbacks. When you move step by step, you allow room for mistakes, learning, and adjustment. If you expect giant leaps, a single setback feels like total failure. But when you embrace the process, you understand that every stumble is simply part of the journey. Failure becomes feedback, not finality. It teaches you where to adjust your steps, and those adjustments are what keep you moving toward the breakthrough. Step by step, even with missteps, you remain in motion, and motion is what leads to progress. Patience is key in this process. The world is quick to celebrate results, but slow to honor the process. You might not see recognition for your effort right away, and that can make you question whether the steps are worth it. But trust the process. Seeds take time to grow beneath the soil before they break the surface. Just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean your work is wasted. Every small step is watering the seed of your breakthrough, even if the growth is invisible for now. When the breakthrough finally comes, it often looks sudden to others, but you will know the truth. You will know the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the resilience, and the discipline that made it possible. Others may call it luck, but you will understand it was built step by step. That moment of success is not a miracle, it is a harvest. And the harvest only comes after planting, watering, nurturing, and waiting with patience. So if you feel frustrated because your progress seems slow, remind yourself that slow progress is still progress. Every step forward counts. Don't dismiss small victories because they don't feel dramatic. Celebrate them because they are building your foundation. The process may be long, but it is worth it, because breakthroughs built step by step are breakthroughs that last. Keep taking the steps, no matter how small. Keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Keep moving forward, even if it's only an inch at a time. Your breakthrough is not a distant miracle waiting to appear. It is the inevitable result of your persistence. The day will come when all those small steps add up to a moment of transformation, and you'll realize that you were building your breakthrough all along. Fear and doubt will always exist, but courage grows when you act in spite of them. Too many people believe they need to wait until they feel fearless before chasing their dreams, or that they need absolute confidence before taking a bold step. They think that courage means never being afraid, never questioning themselves, never doubting their path. But that isn't true. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is the choice to move forward, even while fear and doubt whisper in your ear. The most courageous people in history were not those who never felt afraid, but those who felt fear deeply and still decided to act. Fear is a natural response whenever you're stepping into something new, uncertain, or meaningful. It shows up when you stand at the edge of change because your mind wants to keep you safe within familiar territory. Doubt, too, creeps in when your dreams are bigger than your comfort zone. It tells you that you're not ready, not capable, not worthy. If you listen too closely, fear and doubt can paralyze you, trapping you in the same place for years. But if you recognize them for what they are, signals that you're about to grow, you can choose to act anyway. That is where true courage is born. Consider how children learn. When a child takes their first steps, fear of falling doesn't stop them. They wobble, stumble, and fall repeatedly, yet they get up and try again. Each time they rise, their courage grows. Eventually, walking becomes second nature. Adults, however, often let fear of failure keep them from taking even the first step. They wait until they are certain they won't fall, but certainty never comes. The lesson is simple: courage doesn't come first. Action comes first. Courage follows. The relationship between action and courage is powerful. Every time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its hold on you. Each step forward proves to yourself that fear is not fatal, that doubt is not destiny. You begin to realize that fear loses its power when you confront it. What once seemed terrifying becomes manageable. Think about the first time you spoke in public, drove a car, or tried something new. You likely felt nervous, uncertain, even scared. But once you acted, your confidence grew. What was once intimidating became familiar, and with familiarity came strength. Fear and doubt often masquerade as protectors. They try to keep you from embarrassment, from risk, from potential failure. But in truth, they keep you from growth, from opportunity, from greatness. When you let fear make your decisions, you shrink your world to the size of your comfort zone. But when you act despite fear, your world expands. You open doors you never knew existed, you discover abilities you didn't realize you had, and you build resilience that cannot be taken from you. Courage is built like a muscle. Just as muscles grow stronger the more you use them, courage grows stronger every time you exercise it. The first time you act despite fear, it may feel overwhelming. But the next time, it becomes a little easier. Eventually, you develop a habit of bravery. You stop waiting for fear to disappear and instead learn to carry it with you as you move forward. This shift in mindset transforms your life because you no longer let emotions dictate your actions. You let your vision, your goals, and your values guide you instead. It is also important to understand that doubt is not always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is proof that you're aiming higher than before. Doubt means you're stretching beyond what you already know, reaching for something bigger. If your dreams don't scare you a little, they're probably too small. Courage grows strongest when you face challenges that intimidate you. Acting in spite of doubt is how you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagine. History is full of examples of people who changed the world not because they were fearless, but because they were courageous. Martin Luther King Jr. felt the weight of fear and doubt, but he chose to speak anyway. Amelia Earhart didn't wait until she had complete certainty before flying across the Atlantic. She embraced the unknown. Every innovator, activist, leader, and pioneer has felt the grip of fear, but they refused to let it decide their future. Their courage grew with each act of defiance against fear. The truth is, fear never fully disappears. Doubt never completely leaves. You can't eliminate them, but you can choose how you respond to them. You can let them chain you down, or you can let them remind you that you're standing on the edge of growth. Every time you take a step forward, despite trembling hands or a racing heart, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your fear. You show yourself that doubt does not define your limits. Acting in spite of fear doesn't just build courage, it builds self-respect. When you face something that scares you and choose action anyway, you earn your own trust. You begin to believe in yourself more deeply because you've demonstrated that you won't abandon your dreams when challenges arise. That self-trust becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. You stop waiting for external validation and realize that the greatest validation comes from within, knowing you were afraid, but you did it anyway. So the next time fear and doubt appear, don't see them as enemies to avoid. See them as signs that you are on the right path, because fear doesn't show up when you're standing still. It shows up when you're moving towards something meaningful. Let them remind you that you're growing. Then act anyway. Take the step. Speak the words. Chase the dream. Do it with fear in your chest and doubt in your mind. Because courage is not found in waiting. It's found in moving. Fear and doubt will always exist, but courage will always grow when you choose action. The more you act, the stronger your courage becomes. And the stronger your courage, the smaller your fear will seem. Don't wait for a fearless moment to begin. It may never come. Begin now, exactly as you are, because every time you choose to act in spite of fear, you take control of your life, expand your possibilities, and build the courage to step into the greatness that has always been within you. Clarity, confidence, and opportunity reveal themselves only after you take the first step. So many people spend their lives waiting for absolute certainty before moving forward, as if one day they'll wake up and suddenly have every answer, every resource, and every ounce of courage needed to succeed. They wait for clarity before starting, wait for confidence before speaking, and wait for opportunity before acting. But the truth is, those things do not appear in advance. They are born from movement, The path does not reveal itself until you begin walking on it. The light does not spread across the entire road until you take a step into the dark. Clarity comes from doing, not from waiting. You can sit for years imagining what something will be like, planning every detail, or rehearsing every possible outcome in your mind. But until you take the first step, you'll never really know. Thinking cannot replace experience. It is through action that confusion fades and direction appears. When you take the first step, you begin to see more of the picture. Like a flashlight in the night, each step illuminates just enough of the path to keep you moving forward. You don't need the entire map to begin. You only need to trust the process that clarity will come as you move. Confidence, too, is built only in the act of doing. Many people mistakenly believe that they must feel confident before trying something new. They wait until they feel completely ready, but that moment rarely comes. Confidence does not precede action, it follows it. The first time you do something, you might stumble, feel nervous, or even fail. But every time you try again, your confidence grows. The more you act, the more capable you become, and the more capable you become, the more confident you feel. It is a cycle that begins only when you are willing to take that first step, no matter how uncertain you feel. Opportunity also reveals itself through movement. Doors remain closed when you stand still, but as you take steps forward, new doors begin to appear. People notice your effort, new connections arise, and chances you never imagined begin to present themselves. Opportunities rarely come knocking while you're waiting. They meet you along the journey. Think about how many great stories began because someone simply started. They didn't have the perfect plan, but by moving forward, they found the right people, the right ideas, and the right timing. Opportunities come to those who create momentum, not to those who hesitate on the sidelines. The biggest mistake people make is believing they must have certainty before acting. But certainty is an illusion. Life is full of unknowns, and no amount of planning can eliminate every risk. If you wait until you feel completely certain, you'll never move. Clarity, confidence, and opportunity are not prerequisites for action. They are rewards for action. The first step is always the hardest because it asks you to trust in yourself and in the process, even when you can't see the whole picture. But once you take it, the next step becomes easier, and the one after that easier still. Think of learning to swim. You can read about swimming, watch videos, and study techniques, but none of that gives you the clarity or confidence to swim until you step into the water. The moment you start moving, you learn. You adjust your strokes, you build strength, and eventually, you gain confidence. The same is true in life. You can prepare endlessly, but clarity comes when you start. Confidence grows with practice, and opportunities appear as you immerse yourself in the journey. It is also worth remembering that the first step does not have to be perfect. Too often, people put immense pressure on themselves to get everything right from the beginning. But the first step is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about breaking the inertia that holds you back. Once you move, you can adjust, pivot, and refine along the way. Many of the greatest successes began with imperfect first steps, but because those steps were taken, they eventually led to clarity, confidence, and opportunity. When you hesitate, fear and doubt grow louder. But when you move, fear shrinks and self-belief expands. The act of stepping forward silences the endless loop of overthinking. You stop asking, what if, and start discovering, what now? Even if the first step doesn't take you exactly where you thought it would, it gets you moving, and movement is what creates momentum, growth, and progress. Clarity will show you what is possible once you begin. Confidence will build as you practice and learn. Opportunity will unfold as you move forward and place yourself in environments where doors can open. All of these gifts are waiting for you, but they cannot come until you act. They are on the other side of hesitation, and the only bridge across is your willingness to take that first step. So don't wait for every answer. Don't wait until fear disappears. Don't wait until you feel unstoppable. Instead, take the step that's in front of you now, even if it feels small. The power is not in how perfect the step is, but in the fact that you took it. Because once you do, clarity will begin to sharpen, confidence will start to grow, and opportunities will rise to meet your effort. Your journey will not unfold while you sit still. It will unfold while you walk it. The world does not give its treasures to those who wait endlessly. It reveals them to those who are bold enough to begin. The moment you take that first step, you set change into motion. That step may feel ordinary in the moment, but it carries extraordinary power. It is the key that unlocks the clarity you seek, the courage you crave, and the opportunities you dream of. And the only way to reach them is to start moving now. The step you take today, no matter how small, has the power to transform your future. This truth is often overlooked because people mistakenly believe that only grand gestures, bold leaps, or life-altering decisions hold the key to change. Yet, history and personal experience show us that transformation rarely comes from a single massive act. It comes from the accumulation of small, consistent steps taken with intention. Every big dream, every breakthrough, every achievement began with someone daring to take one step forward, even if they didn't feel ready. What you choose to do today, right here, right now, could be the beginning of the life you've been imagining. When you think about transformation, it's easy to picture the end result, the successful career, the strong body, the financial freedom, the fulfilled life. But none of those outcomes appear overnight. They are built brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. The step you take today might seem ordinary, but it carries the weight of momentum. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain. You don't climb it in a single bound. You climb it one step at a time. Each step may feel small compared to the size of the mountain, but without it, the summit remains impossible. Today's step, however small, is your first foothold on the climb toward your dreams. The beauty of small steps is that they are accessible. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to see the full path. You only need to commit to what is within your reach today. Maybe it's waking up a little earlier to focus on your goals. Maybe it's choosing to study instead of scrolling on your phone. Maybe it's reaching out to someone who could mentor you. These actions might look minor, but their impact multiplies over time. Small steps compound, and over weeks, months, and years, they build extraordinary outcomes. The step you take today could set in motion a chain reaction that changes the trajectory of your future in ways you cannot yet see. The reason today's step is so powerful is that it shifts you from thought into action. Dreams are valuable, but dreams without action remain illusions. Many people live in the space of someday. Someday I'll start the business. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll write the book. But someday is not a day of the week. It never arrives. The only real moment you have is today. And the only way to bring your dream into reality is to act now, no matter how small the action may seem. When you take a step today, you are no longer someone who only wishes. You become someone who builds. It's important to recognize that transformation is rarely dramatic at first. In fact, most steps feel insignificant when you take them. The person who starts saving money with just a few dollars may feel like it doesn't matter. The person who begins walking 10 minutes a day may think it's too small to make a difference. The person who writes one paragraph may feel like they're getting nowhere. But here's the truth: those small beginnings grow. The savings accumulate, the fitness improves, the book gets written. What looks small in the moment becomes powerful over time. The step you take today is the seed of tomorrow's harvest. Fear often tells us not to bother with small steps. It whispers, "What's the point? It's too little to matter." But fear is wrong. The point is progress, and progress is never wasted. Each step you take today builds discipline, strengthens your mindset, and proves to yourself that you are capable. Even if you don't see instant results, you are laying the foundation for your future. Just like planting a seed in the ground doesn't yield fruit the same day, your step today won't always show immediate results. But beneath the surface, change is happening. Growth is happening. Transformation is happening. One of the greatest gifts of taking a step today is momentum. Nothing changes until you start moving. But once you do, it becomes easier to keep going. A stationary object requires effort to push, but once it's in motion, it carries energy forward. The same applies to your life. Taking one step today makes it easier to take another tomorrow. Soon, what once felt like a struggle becomes a habit, and what once seemed impossible becomes your new reality. That's how breakthroughs are built, not in a single moment, but in a series of consistent steps. Even setbacks can't erase the power of today's step. Failure is not final unless you quit. As long as you keep stepping forward, even after stumbling, you are still moving toward transformation. Every time you choose to act, you prove to yourself that you are resilient. You show yourself that you refuse to give up. And resilience is often the difference between those who succeed and those who give up too soon. The step you take today also carries influence beyond your own life. People around you are watching, friends, family, children, colleagues. When they see you act, even in small ways, they are inspired to act as well. Your courage to move forward becomes a spark that ignites courage in others. In this way, your single step today doesn't just transform your future, it has the power to ripple outward and transform lives around you. So do not underestimate the importance of today. Do not dismiss the small action you could take right now. Do not tell yourself it doesn't matter, because it does. It matters more than you realize. The step you take today may be the very one that shifts your entire life. It may be the one that opens the door to opportunity, the one that creates momentum, the one that leads to your breakthrough. You don't have to see the whole future. You only need to take the step in front of you. And when you do, you will discover that you've already begun to transform your tomorrow.